In 1969, amid India's push for agricultural self-reliance and the Green Revolution, Union Carbide India Limited established a pesticide formulation facility in Bhopal. Positioned by authorities as a milestone of post-colonial modernization, the plant was built to formulate saline pesticide, promising higher crop yields for Indian farmers. The plant was constructed on commercial land in northern Bhopal, directly adjacent to the major central railway junction. Over the following decade, thousands of impoverished rural migrants settled in densely packed shanty towns like Jayaprakash Nagar and Kemwal Nagar, living within mere yards of the factory perimeter wall without any protective buffer zone. In 1979, to boost profitability and reduce import duties, Union Carbide shifted from importing active chemicals to synthesizing its own methyl isocyanate on-site. This transformation turned a low-risk formulation facility into a colossal hazardous chemical synthesis plant containing tons of one of the most volatile compounds known to chemistry. Methyl isocyanate is an intensely volatile, clear liquid with an exceptionally low boiling point of just 39 degrees Celsius. Highly reactive with water, acids, and traces of metal, any uncontrolled contact triggers an explosive exothermic runaway reaction, releasing immense heat and toxic pressurized vapors. Unlike European facilities that minimized risk by producing methyl isocyanate in small, continuous batches, the Bhopal plant opted for mass bulk storage in 3 massive underground stainless steel tanks, E610, E611, and E619. By late 1984, Tank E610 held over 42 metric tons of liquid methyl isocyanate. Catastrophe was foretold years before. In December 1981, plant operator Mohammad Ashraf was killed by a fatal phosgene leak. Over the next 2 years, multiple leaks injured dozens of workers. Local journalist Rajkumar Keswani published alarming investigative reports pleading, "Save this city, we are sitting on a volcano," but authorities and management looked away. During the early 1980s, widespread crop failures and Indian market competition caused pesticide demand to plummet. In response, Union Carbide implemented aggressive cost-cutting protocols. Seasoned engineers were replaced, safety training was cut from 6 months to 15 days, and the plant's maintenance crew was halved. In June 1984, the plant's 30-ton Freon refrigeration unit was shut off to save just $30 a day in electricity, allowing tank temperatures to rise from 0 degrees to room temperature. Simultaneously, the vent gas scrubber was placed on standby, and the flare tower, the final line of defense, was dismantled for pipe repair. At 9:30 on the evening of December 2nd, a novice operator was ordered to wash corroded filter pipes with high-pressure water. Critically, the mandatory metal slip-lined disc was never inserted to isolate the piping. Water backed up through leaky valves into the jumper line and began pouring directly into Tank E610. Inside Tank E610, the incoming water reacted violently with 42 tons of methyl isocyanate, accelerated by iron corrosion particles. Internal temperatures rocketed past 200 degrees Celsius, and pressure inside the tank skyrocketed from 2 pounds per square inch to over 55, cracking the concrete casing. At 12:50 in the morning, the tank's safety relief valve burst open. 42 metric tons of lethal gas shot out of the exhaust stack into the night sky. Water curtain sprayers were activated, but their jets reached only 30 meters, far short of the towering Plume glowing 33 meters above. A winter thermal inversion trapped the dense toxic cloud against the cold earth. 2 times heavier than air, the invisible vapor crept silently south-southeast, rolling into the dark alleys of Jayaprakash Nagar, choking sleeping infants and families in their beds. At Bhopal Junction, Deputy Station Superintendent Ghulam Dastagir felt his eyes burning and saw choking passengers collapsing on the platforms. Realizing a catastrophic gas leak was underway, Dastagir bravely halted incoming passenger trains and dispatched the Gorakhpur Express ahead of schedule, saving hundreds of lives before succumbing to toxic exposure himself. Over 200,000 people fled into the pitch-black night in a frantic stampede. Blinded by corneal ulcerations and coughing up bloody froth, mothers dropped children in the frenzy, while elderly residents collapsed along roadsides and drainage canals, suffocating as their lungs filled with fluid. By dawn, Hamidia Hospital was besieged by tens of thousands of gasping victims. Doctors and nurses, completely uninformed by Union Carbide about the chemical identity of the leak, could only administer eye drops, basic painkillers, and oxygen, powerless against the ravaging internal damage. Crematoriums ran out of firewood while mass graves were dug continuously by volunteers and soldiers. Over 3,000 people perished in the first 72 hours, with thousands of livestock carcasses littering the streets. Independent investigative audits estimated the early death toll reached over 8,000. Autopsies revealed cherry-red blood and congested lungs indicative of cyanide poisoning. Leading toxicologists recommended mass administration of sodium thiosulfate as an antidote. However, Union Carbide corporate medical advisors vehemently denied any cyanide connection, leading authorities to halt treatment and worsening victim suffering. 4 days after the disaster, Union Carbide chairman Warren Anderson flew to Bhopal and was placed under house arrest on charges of culpable homicide. Just 2 hours later, following high-level diplomatic intervention, he was granted bail and flown to New Delhi aboard a government aircraft, promptly fleeing back to the United States never to return. In 1989, the Supreme Court of India endorsed a controversial out-of-court settlement. Union Carbide agreed to pay $470 million in full and final settlement of all civil claims. After years of administrative delays, victims received an average payout of barely $500. When Union Carbide abandoned the Bhopal factory, over 350 tons of hazardous chemical waste and pesticide residues were left sitting in corroded open drums and solar evaporation ponds. Decades of monsoon rains washed these deadly poisons directly into the surrounding soil. Environmental testing by international organizations revealed drinking water in 18 surrounding neighborhoods contaminated with lead, mercury, and cancer-causing chlorinated benzenes up to 50 times safe limits. Second and third generation children in Bhopal continue to be born with severe congenital defects, growth disorders, and neurological trauma. Led by grassroots organizers like Abdul Jabbar, Rashid Abi, and Champa Devi Shukla, the survivors organized historic marches, hunger strikes, and international legal challenges. The women of Bhopal created self-reliant clinics, suing cooperatives, and global alliances demanding corporate accountability and environmental cleanup. The Bhopal disaster shook the industrial world to its core. It became the primary catalyst for the United States Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, mandated global material safety data sheet transparency, and transformed process safety management standards across chemical facilities worldwide. 4 decades later, the statue of the grieving mother crafted by Ruth Waterman stands opposite the rusted ruins of the Union Carbide plant. Bhopal remains a timeless testament to the cost of corporate negligence and human resilience, a solemn reminder to the world that industrial progress must never come at the expense of human life.